video, I want to take you through this common objection on how to close more prospects and how to handle one of probably the most common objections that people trip themselves up on and end up losing a great client or a prospect in the process. Now, the question, and you've probably all had it before, is when you speak to a prospect, whether that's online in messages, whether you speak to them on the phone, whether you speak to them in person, and when literally straight out the gate they say to you, so what's the cost? Or what's the investment? What's the price? Whatever terminology you want to use, right? And a lot of people, especially in their early stages of business, really, when they get this question, they really shoot themselves in the foot really badly. And they end up thinking, well, why am I bad at closing? Why am I a bad salesperson? Why aren't I able to get the clients I want? I'm getting prospects, but I just can't get them to close. I could help them. They seemed confident. They seemed keen, but then for whatever reason, they move away. Now, knowing how to handle this question the right way will change all of that for you, whether you're new in business or whether you've been around it for a long time. Now, the question that most prospects will ask, right, when they ask that question, what's the price, what's the investment, what's the cost, whatever it might be, straight from the get-go, right? Or when you've just started kind of talking about how you work together, what it looks like, so on and so forth. Generally, I'm going to take you through two pieces. One, first and foremost, right, people come up with that question because they don't know what else to ask, right? It's like, if you're a prospect and you're looking to buy something and you have no idea about what it is, how it works, features, benefits, what's going to happen, whatever, you don't have anything else to ask, right? And so you're just there and you're just like, if there's oxygen in the conversation, if there's space, if there's gap in the conversation, you kind of just lead as a prospect with the only question you can think of in your mind, right? So a lot of prospects will ask that just because you, as a business owner, right, are not leading the direction of the conversation. You're leaving oxygen, you're leaving space, you're leaving gaps for them to lead the conversation. And when they know nothing about what you do or how it works, they really only have one question. And they're always going to lead themselves to there because they're like, well, I'm leading this conversation. I can't really think of anything else to ask. So they're going to ask this sort of stuff. So first and foremost, as a business owner, you need to lead the conversation, right? You need to be the expert, be the coach. And the coaching starts from your first conversation. It doesn't start from when they pay you, right? The coaching starts from your first conversation. You need to be the leader, right? You need to lead the conversation. And it doesn't mean that you need to do it in an aggressive way or in a confrontational way. You just need to help them feel comfortable that you know what you do, you know how to help them, and you'll steer them in the right direction, right? From the moment of them being a prospect all the way through to once they become a client and having confidence that you know what's the next steps, right? So by that I mean, like, if someone asks a question, you can answer the question. It's not like you're blocking things and you've got to no, stop, let me lead the conversation, whatever it might be. Is that if they ask questions, you can answer the question, but you need to then jump back in and ask them a question after you answer that question. Take back the lead, right? You're the one that asks the questions about them, because really, ultimately, what you're trying to do is find out if you can help them, what they're looking for, and if you can actually deliver that. Now, if you can deliver that, then fantastic. You should be able to turn that prospect into a client, right? Now, as I mentioned, you need to take lead of the conversation. Otherwise, they're going to take lead of it, and the only question they're going to have is, what's the price, right? Now, second, when it comes to the question of what's the price, what's the investment, what's whatever, if you haven't gone through what they need, like if you don't know what they need, you don't know whether you can actually help them, then the price is irrelevant, because like the answer to that question is like, what's the price of what? And what I mean by that is, it's like if you just speak to a prospect and the prospect's, oh, hey, you're a trainer, so how much does it cost to get training? It's like, yeah, but what type of training? How often? What do you need? Do you need coaching? Do you need nutrition? Do you need in-person, online? Do you need programs? Do you need check-ins? Do you need like it is like what's the price of what? You can't answer the question correctly. You can't answer the question honestly. And a lot of beginner business people, or even people who don't know how to tackle this, will just go, oh, my usual price is X. And they'll just throw out the usual package price, right? Now, think about it. You're a coach, right? And you're trying to help people, and you've just told someone your cookie cutter price for what you do, and you know nothing about them and how you're going to help them, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And generally when that conversation happens, like, the person won't close, even though if they might really want what you do, because they literally, you've started a conversation like, hey, you're a trainer, cool. So how much would it cost to get training from you? And you say a price, and they have no idea what you do. All they've got is just this price in their mind, right? And they're just like, oh, that sounds expensive, for example, or that sounds cheap, or whatever it might be, right? Whatever their response be, but they're anchoring the value of that price, whether it's expensive or cheap, based on nothing, based on their general assumption of what a trainer does, right? Which they may have no idea, or they may have had a trainer 5 years ago that was terrible, right? They did one session with them a week, or did 10 sessions with them a week, or never saw them, or never turned, like, there is no anchor to whether that price is good or bad. And so they're just going to, all they have to do is go back to their history and try and anchor it to something to say whether that's expensive or cheap, right? And so you're already, if you let them take the lead and they ask that question, and then you answer that question with like the most cookie cutter price that you have, not knowing about what they need, how many sessions, like having no idea about what they need, like you've just lost yourself a great prospect, because that might not even be the price. They might want half of what you normally do, and the price might be, as a result, half, right? You're just throwing out a number, and they've got no idea on what you do or how you do what you do. So they're going to anchor that to something that's happened to them in the past, in their history, which is totally unrelated to you. So you can see how this question and answering this question is like, it's the most stupidest thing ever. Like but it's not because your prospects are stupid that they're asking it. It's because they don't know what else to ask, because you're not taking lead in the conversation, right? Now, ultimately, what should really happen in a conversation is you take the lead, you ask questions, you find out where they're at, what they've done, what they feel they need help with, what they feel like they've done in the past that hasn't worked for them, and then you formulate in your mind. It's like a doctor, right? When you go and see your doctor doesn't just go, you don't sit down and go, can you give me this drug? And the doctor's like, well, I don't know anything about you. I don't know what your symptoms are. I don't know what your problems are, whatever. Let me ask you some questions, right? And then they'll ask question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And after that, they'll prescribe the thing that'll suit you best, right? And as coaches, that's what our job is to do. Be like a doctor mentality, speak to a prospect. Hang on a sec, let me ask you some questions. And then I'm going to find out what you specifically need, and I'm going to prescribe the best thing for you that's going to get you exactly what you want. And then I can give you a price based on that. How's that sound? Right? That is the best answer to the question. All right? That is the best answer to the question. If everyone says, oh, what's the price? You just say, oh, look, I've got a general, a couple of different ways I work with people, but ultimately, I don't know anything about you just yet, and I don't want to prescribe you the wrong thing. So is it right if I ask you a couple of questions, just so I can kind of dig in, find out where you're at, what you're looking for, and then I can, easily and honestly give you the investment, no problem whatsoever. And they'll go, yeah, okay. Because then you've taken the lead of the conversation, and they're like, oh, okay, this person's going to take the lead in an area I know nothing about. Now I feel confident and comfortable with this person. And then you ask the questions, and then you prescribe what you prescribe, and rock and roll. And then the price actually is anchored to what you deliver, which is real, right? And then from there, they're going to go, for everything we've gone through, is that it? Like, how do I start, right? Because it's anchored to something real, and you've shown specifically what you do and why you charge what you charge. And people will be like, yeah, I understand the value you give to the monetary value I need to give you to get it. Hopefully that makes sense. Got a comment here from Danielle. It helps me to have a list of questions to ask. I don't always use them, but I have them handy if they still are. Yeah. Look, a script is really good. If you're doing it in person, it's a little bit harder, right? But if you're not doing it in person, over phone, whatever it might be, scripts are always amazing. And you don't have to follow scripts because it's not about being robotic. Scripts are really just there to give you a skeleton so that if you dive into something and you kind of lose your train of thought, you can get back to your train of thought, right? And that's the power of scripts. It's not about reading script question 1, reading question 2, and then the prospect's like, thanks for asking the question off your script, but I already just answered that in the last question, or I already told you that. Like you look silly, right? Scripts are there just to help you bring you back to a point if you get lost, right? And make sure you ask the right questions. But once you've done it a couple of times, the flow will just flow and you'll do it naturally, right? Now, ultimately, what is the most amazing script? It is to discover, right? Do a discovery, find out what they need, where they're at, right? What they've done in the past, what they feel they need most, why they're looking to solve this problem. That's a discovery. You're discovering stuff about them, right? And then from there you go into the prescription. And the prescription is your offering, right? If you can help them. If you can't help them, you prescribe them to speak to someone else. And that's literally it. That's like the crux of a script, right? Yes, there's questions within there that can help get that discovery process best and so on and so forth. But ultimately, if you follow, hey, I'm going to discover and then I'm going to prescribe, right? I'm going to treat this like a doctor would, right? You do not prescribe before you understand the problem, because that's like you would lose your doctor's license straight away and probably get thrown in jail, right? Because it's stupid, right? It's not possible to prescribe something when you don't know what they're looking for, what they need, right? And it's just like that in any part of business, and especially us as coaches, taking care of people's lives, taking care of people's health, right? And not only will you get better clients, you'll close more, right? And you'll stop losing great prospects that you should have turned into clients. They just outright ask, so what's the price? And then you not knowing what to do, you kind of balk and just throw a price at them. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. I'll call you in a week's time, and you never hear from them again, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that answers your question. If you have that problem and you continually run up against it, this is the solution to it. Trial that out, right? And let me know how you go. Send me an email, chris@tribefit.co, that's .co. Or you can check me out on social media. Shoot me a message there. Hopefully that's helped. And I hope that helps you close more great clients, change more lives, have more impact, and have more income. I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.